Earlier in the hour, we spoke about immigration targets. Bram Strain of the Business Council of Manitoba observing we can't build housing fast enough. And if you drive around our city and capital region, you see lots of apartment, multifamily construction, the need for assisted living, even personal care homes. Now, developers want to build. And in this case, on property that may contribute more in a post-pandemic world to important green spaces. One of those spaces, beautiful forests. Residents in the south of Winnipeg say is under threat.
This is like gym class, right?
Yeah. And they were building teepees and I made houses somebody. It was just fun.
So where are we now? Behavioral health is right there. So they want to put the entranceway to the neighborhood down along this fence, right past the French school to Pembina Highway.
It's a 22-acre parcel of property tucked behind the St. Norbert Community Club. There's deer, fox, eagles. They all roam in this urban forest bordered by a bend in the Red River. To the north, a dike protects it from spring flooding. I grew up not far from here, and this was and remains a popular walking area. To the east is the former Villa Maria. It was a Catholic retreat, which is now a school, the Laureate Academy.
Chemin de Croix and the grottos, and occasionally they would have mass out here, but that was not the purpose. It was make work projects.
I went to a mass here as a kid.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And on the south side, homeowners who live along Lemay.
My name is Kat McCauley-Gauthier. I'm a resident of St. Norbert.
How important is the property that we are looking at here, not only to you, but to the residents of Lemay and other parts of St. Norbert?
Extremely important on so many levels. We would consider this forest the lungs of St. Norbert.
How long have you been here?
16 years.
And when you bought, did anybody say, no, there's long-term plans to develop this property?
No. No one told us that.
When did you find out?
Probably 7 years ago. Yeah, the eaglet is usually in one tree and the parents in the other tree.
The property has had a few owners over the years, and each talked about opening it to development, but the locals shut it down. The current owner wants to build, and in a letter to area residents has said it intends to start cutting trees, mostly those affected by Dutch elm disease, and proceed with building a mixed-use development along with the street that would back on to Macaulay-Gauthier's property.
A lot of people think it's publicly accessible, and they've been
Planner John Winthrop represents the owner.
And other items on the land, but it's actually private property, and so we've given everybody 45 days to come out and enjoy the property one last time, but it is private property, and we're going to ask that they respect the fencing and the signage and the barriers, and stay off the property.
Winthrop, by the way, was involved in the planning for a development on the Parker lands in Fort Garry.
Maintaining this forest for us and for the animals.
In 2018, that ended up with attempted court injunctions and bulldozer taking out trees. There is a sense here that the end game is to ultimately have taxpayers buy the property.
Part of the planning process is what we've done is we've engaged all three levels of government, the school, two school divisions, as well as over 50 non-government organizations, as well as local indigenous organizations, to, if they're interested in preserving the forest, let us know before the end of the year. But we're moving on at the in 2024 to transform these lands. But we're still pursuing the idea of housing on these lands until something changes with that. But we're open to hearing from that. They better express their concerns or wishes soon. But we're moving on in 2024 with a private-owned property that, when the intention is to have housing on it.
Joined live on 680 CJOB in a moment by Dana Dirksen of the St. Norbert Community Club. They're holding a meeting Friday evening about this. Gerald Toll lives on Lemay and joins us live on 680 CJOB. Mr. Toll, I'm interested in your perspective on, as a homeowner on Lemay, whether or not the developer here, in your view, is serious about this, given the fact that this property has changed hands a few times, or is looking for taxpayers to, and you folks to ultimately declare this important property for its forest and all the animals are there, a wildlife refuge, if you will.
It is very tough at the moment because he has actually not come forward with his current plans. So although he was threatening to start to cut down the trees very soon. We actually don't know what his development plans are exactly. The current owner had tried to set up something prior to COVID, and I know at that time it was multiple buildings, and I believe he was going to add multi-story 2,400 units. So there's a real concern about going forward and losing the forest to that kind of growth and development.
I know folks in your area have successfully stood in the way of some developments that would have ravaged this green space in the past. Do you feel like you still have that fighter's chance this time around?
Well, there certainly are challenges to this property, and I think that's what happened in the past. There's significant issues with sewer. For instance, St. Norbert, our sewer system's running at capacity. So to add a lot of units, the potential of flooding the rest of us. We often have power outages. What kind of improvements to the power grid would be required? Lemay Avenue itself, which would be the one street over from the new development, is not built for high levels of traffic, and he may need to have an entrance and exit somewhere off Lemay. So there are very big concerns in terms of our own homes, safety, not to mention the nature and the wildlife.
Dana Dirksen is with us from the St. Norbert Community Club. What are you folks planning for on Friday evening?
On Friday evening, we will start at about 6:30. St. Norbert Community Center is on Pembina Highway. We have excellent parking and all are welcome, but we would like to make sure that the priority here are the people that live in East St. Norbert, which is where this proposed development site is. We will discuss our areas of concern, and in the past, I think we've identified, we're up to 16 now. We will have John Winthrop speak at 7 o'clock and answer questions and things like that. This, though, was organized by the St. Norbert Community Center because there are so many people very concerned about having a mass project being put back there that doesn't fit with our community. Potentially, it sounds to me as though this could double the population of St. Norbert, and we are not set up or prepared for that.
Dana Dirksen from the St. Norbert Community Club. Interestingly enough, and we'll have more live at 5 with Global's Rosanna Hempel, but the area councillor earlier said, I'm not weighing in on this. And then as we started asking questions at Global News, Marcus Chambers decided to weigh in. He now says the city and other levels of government are already looking at options.
Whether it's acquisition of the land to keep it as a green space and the biodiversity that exists, from an ecological standpoint, or whether it's finding a land swap that we can, provide for that developer that can put these great plans into action, but in a location that is more suitable. We recognize that the fastest growing segment of our population is seniors, and we want to have available housing for that demographic.
Chambers recognizes that there is a lot of anger in my former stomping grounds of St. Norbert. And I have to tell you, for 30 years they've talked about this, but there's also a segment of people in St. Norbert that would love to see some development on this property, simply because they're starved for multifamily housing and for places to retire and for assisted living in the area. Chambers is saying maybe it's a land swap, a forested area. But this is a piece of property, and I did grow up in there, and that's my old stomping grounds. But when you look at the forest and all what we learned during the pandemic about green spaces and about forest and how important it is to our ecosystem, you would think that there would be another way.